Hi, everyone, and welcome to SPED Homeschool Conversations. This is a broadcast put on by SPED Homeschool, whose purpose is to encourage and train parents to help them to be more successful in homeschooling their children. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are 100% viewer supported. If you want to find out more about that, you can look at our website, spedhomeschool.com. My name is Peggy Ployer, and I am the host, as well as the founder of SPED Homeschool. And our topic tonight is growing confidence amid life's setbacks. And I just want to thank you for joining us. And we also are recording this session so that we can put it on our YouTube channel as well as our podcast. And we welcome, if you're joining us live, your questions, your comments. And so let's get started. Welcome, Steve. We're glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you, Peggy. It is fun to be here with you.
Yeah, so just so everyone gets to know you, I just want to read a little bit of your bio. Steve Donofrio is a motivational speaker, and he specializes in self-protection and personal workplace harmony and fitness. And he's also the lead author of the Mama Manual, a book for mothers on family and personal protection. So we just want to thank you for being here tonight, Steve, and to talking to us definitely about getting past setbacks, because as we were talking about over the last week and getting ready for this broadcast, is that the special education homeschooling community experiences a lot of setbacks. Yeah. And so I'm excited for what you have to share tonight. And I know as I shared some of them with you, your response was, wow, there's a lot going on that we need to help these parents, just feel like they can go through this. So as we're getting started, I thought it would be good for just our audience to get to know a little bit more about you, kind of how you got to where you're at with what you're passionate about and what you speak about and write about, and then we'll kind of get started into diving into some various setbacks. And if you have something that has just been a setback in your life, share it with us. We would love to encourage you tonight. And that's what this is really all about. So anyways, so I will leave the introduction up to you.
Well, Peggy, I appreciate that. You might say it's been kind of a full circle for me of a lot of different things growing up. And I was involved in youth ministry for many years. Ran a Young Life program full-time for 11 years, but over 20 years involved with high school students.
Wow.
And
Okay.
junior high school students, some as a volunteer and some as in full-time ministry. But a lot of it at the same time, I saw a lot of broken people, and I was involved in the military and in law enforcement and security. And so that also fueled my passion for protection.
Yeah.
And my wife and I went to Japan as missionaries in 2000. With Young Life. We were there. That contract just ended after 2 years, but loved it so much we just stayed there.
Oh, wow.
And I had taught a couple volunteer women's self-protection courses, and who is now my current business partner was one of my first students. And she goes, "Well, this is great. Do it again." And when I was like, "Well, I would, but my Japanese isn't strong enough to do a pure Japanese one quite yet." She's like, "Well, no worries. I'll translate. You just teach the course, and I'll help you." So she invited a bunch of friends, and it went well. And a lot of the friends were moms of little kids, and they're like, "What do you got for our kids?"
Oh, yeah.
So I said, "Well, I can do something for you." So we did. And then it was, "Well, we're in the PTA. What do you have for schools? Can you consult us?" So we created a consulting business that does a lot of school security management, personal protection, which is where the Mama Manual came. It's all about teaching moms to raise safe and healthy, happy kids.
That's
So
great.
fitness was there, and doing all that for the last 15 years in Japan. Came back in 2015. Came back to the America, and I wasn't sure what to do, and I started getting into speaking.
Yeah.
Ended up at Mache teaching the self-protection, but along the way, a new friend of mine here, we were talking, and he says, "I work with high school athletes, and I work with young people, and what I'm learning is that no one has any confidence. And that even
Yes.
adults, we begin to lack. We just we get defeated pretty quick." And he goes, I had spoken with him about a couple things from my youth ministry days, and a couple things I was learning and studying and speaking. Self protection, actually, we teach a lot about confidence. I encourage people to get into martial arts programs. to build
Right.
confidence, because confidence leads to safer lifestyle. So they're
Mm.
kind of intertwined with, and fitness creates confidence. And we were talking about how do you create that confidence. And after sharing, he says, "Hey, would you come speak to a few kids I know?" And that started
Yeah.
the, what we now is known as Boost Confidence, which is my kind of my motivational speaking platform outside of protection, really helping people to boost confidence, and especially in areas of setbacks. When you're feeling
Yeah.
down, when something bad happens, how do we take that moment,
Hmm.
use that to grow?
Yeah. It's oftentimes it's that roadblock, and we don't think of it as, a launching point instead. Yeah, I can see how, definitely the confidence, they're lacking of, and you almost set yourself up to be a victim when you don't have confidence in yourself and what you can do. And people take advantage of that. I've seen that happen with my own adopted siblings that have struggled with the confidence. And so yeah, that's interesting. Um,
And
so
then when you get into the sex trafficking industry and things like that, they're looking for those weaknesses.
yeah.
And a confident person is a less likely person to become a target.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, too, is we think that confidence is something we have, then we can do something. Oh, I can't because I'm not confident,
Ah,
versus looking at confidence as a muscle.
hmm.
And
That's
that,
a good perspective. Yeah.
and so from the fitness industry, we'd say we always take our muscle to muscle failure.
Hmm.
And when we get there, then our muscles begin to grow.
Right.
But unless you experience failure, you're not going to get any confidence, because you
Hmm.
haven't challenged yourself to failure. You're staying in your comfort zone. You're staying back from pushing yourself to that next level. So, like
Yeah.
fitness, your confidence muscle isn't going to grow until you hit those failure points,
Mm-hmm.
and then you move forward from that.
Right. Yeah. It's that ripping of that muscle and that pain that you experience, when you work out and you go, oh, what did I do to myself? But, then you come back and you are stronger afterwards, after you heal, and you can do that. And yeah. And I think we tend to, as a society, not to push ourselves and our children as much as we used to
Mm,
in that area.
yeah.
And that probably is, one of those things that you're seeing is, the decline of confidence across the board.
Yep. And I think parents of whether it's special needs or just regular kids are often afraid to. We feel like we failed our kids
Mm,
a lot, and I think
yeah.
we struggle with our own confidence. Are we smart enough to raise these kids? Do we have what it takes? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I think I'm
Mm,
failing. I need to find someone else to do it. Or
right.
where do I get the help I need? What should I do? And we struggle. Um,
Yeah.
and I
And
can
society,
imagine.
unfortunately, tells us that over and over again. If you're not an expert, then what are you doing? You have no say in this arena, whether it's your own child or your own life, your own, all of this, even your own medical needs. You have no say if you don't know enough, and yet we do.
Yeah.
And so that's where the confidence comes in: is can we turn around and say, yes, I do have a say, and I can change this and make it better by making choices for
And I
myself and
think
my
that's
child.
true too, because we don't trust ourselves, we look to all of these experts.
Mm,
And
hmm.
the reality is, as a mom or a dad, you are the expert of your kid.
Yes, that is so true. Because
And
a
I think,
teacher does not spend every waking hour with your child.
no. And then you have to ask yourself too, who are these experts? What makes them an expert? Just because
Mm,
society says so, they have a piece of paper with a degree that says I'm an expert. I encourage, even in the self-defense and self-protection world, I tell people, stop listening to the experts, me being one of them. Trust
mm,
your own self a lot of the
right.
times.
Hmm.
Ecclesiastes 12:12. It's a great verse. It's thousands of years old. It says,
Mm-hmm.
"Of the writing of many books, there is no end."
Yes.
Well, the author of
Exactly.
Ecclesiastes warns us: be careful of all the so-called experts.
Yeah.
You know,
Because every scenario is different.
Yep. And so we have to be careful of the so-called experts, and we don't need them all the time. Now, it's good to get some things. That's true.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But we don't need to be, and look in the fitness world. One day coffee's good for you, the next day it's bad for you.
Exactly.
Eat fat, don't eat fat. A new expert comes along with some new advice, and we go stir crazy. Of course, we can't have confidence because as soon as we think we're doing something wrong, the next expert comes with the new book he just wrote that counters
Exactly. And it's completely
everything
different.
I said.
Yeah.
And that's why we lack all sorts of confidence out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the data for kids with special needs, what parents go and flip flop, they're told this is going to work for your child with autism, or this works for, best for a child with Down syndrome. And then they follow that track. And it seems we're just, following these rabbit trails after every time we get a new report that comes out with the greatest new thing. And yet, when I'm counseling with parents and when I did a lot of work just one-on-one with parents, I would always say, where's your peace? Are you at peace with any of this? And I kind of leave them with, you got to just be where your peace is and not keep following what everyone tells you to do. And if that person does tell you to something to do and inside that that's where your peace is going to stay, then go with it. But otherwise, don't just keep doing things because people say it worked for them or this is the best thing out there. We can get very off track that way.
Yeah. And I think, but we see that in every area of life.
Mm-hmm.
In the fitness industry, I see it a lot with people running after fad diets.
Yes.
And they're looking for an outside solution, but sometimes the problem's internal. And that has a lot to do with we haven't come to the point of trusting ourselves yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're afraid to make our own decisions because what if we're wrong? That's now the fear gets in control. Well, if I do what the expert says, then I can always blame the expert.
Right. Yeah. I find that very true that we almost want a scapegoat when we're doing something because again, it goes back to that confidence issue is I can't stand on my own. I need somebody that's behind me or in front of me to blame when this doesn't go well.
Well, yeah, when I talk to youth or companies or whoever, we talk about getting real with your dreams or getting real with your situation and being realistic, so to speak.
Yeah.
We break up the word real into REAL. And the first one we talk about taking responsibility.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we hear take responsibility, we should admit there's a problem, people say. Well, we talk about taking responsibility. We want to admit there's a solution. And that to every single problem out there, there is a solution.
Right.
And that will give you freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that for all the problems that exist in front of you, there actually is some type of solution.
Yeah.
You begin to feel more empowered. And yes, it's a little scary, but
right.
but you don't feel hopeless anymore.
Yes.
Oh, I have all these problems. Well, yeah, but you have all these solutions as well. Now it's trying to find the one that fits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you don't have to find it on your first try.
And that's where the failure comes. And it's not failure. It's
right.
a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's so you say, look, here's my problems. Great. Now list them out. And what I tell folks to do at my workshops is I want you to write your problem, but I want you to put it to the far right of the paper. Now in front of that, I want you to write, there's a solution to that problem. And leave some space. There's a solution to this. Now leave some space because you're going to start writing possible solutions underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
Now go try them.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, do it again. If that one doesn't work, come up with a new one. But understand every day there's a solution to that problem. And now you feel free. You feel empowered.
Right.
Because you can now find that solution because you admitted it exists.
Yes. Yeah. You do have to proclaim it and put it out there. But yet the solution and finding that solution is in not stopping after you've hit so many tries. We often come to the story with Thomas Edison. How many times did he try to make the light bulb before he succeeded? And do we all have that confidence inside of us that there is a solution, whether we have to try, 5 times or 150 times with something? And yeah.
And a lot of times, though, we begin to get defeated when it doesn't work the first time, second time, and we begin to get discouraged. And I
Yeah.
think it's because we begin to go, oh, this doesn't work, it's not working, nothing's happening. But
Mm,
as parents, we watch our babies take their first steps.
right.
There's a Japanese proverb that says, "Fall down 7 times, get up 8." One of my favorite
Yeah.
proverbs of all times. But every time I think about the baby when I think about that proverb. A
Mm-hmm.
baby tries to stand up, shakes a little bit, and falls on its face. The baby doesn't go, well, yeah, that walking thing's not for me. I'm just going to stay on the ground.
Right.
The
Sometimes they'll
baby,
have a little cry, but
the baby gets back up. But
yeah.
and what we have to do is look deeper at what's happening. What's happening when that baby stands back up is muscles get stronger, ligaments get stronger, joints get stronger. So every time that baby gets back up, the baby's getting stronger.
Mm,
Now the baby gets back up and takes a few more steps and maybe looks around and puts their hand out on a couch or a table,
mm-hmm.
steady themselves, and then falls and crashes.
Right.
Then it gets back up and it does the same thing. But now what's happened was not only is the baby getting stronger, the baby's getting smarter. Every
Yes.
time they go through that
So
process of falling down and getting up, they get stronger, they get smarter, they get better.
true. Mm-hmm.
And if we could begin to remember every failure is the opportunity to get stronger, to get smarter, to get better, now looking at
Beautiful.
failure is a positive, not a negative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Exactly.
I did fall on my face with this, or it might just be a strategy problem.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't fail. Maybe the strategy failed. You didn't. This was a bad plan. It
Mm,
wasn't. It wasn't you. You just need a different plan for this situation.
exactly.
One of
Yep.
my motivational speakers I follow has a funny story about strategy, and he talks about he was in a hurry to get somewhere and was walking on the streets. I think it was New York. He said, and he was in a hurry, but he kept passing those streets shoe shine folks.
Oh yeah.
First one he came to, he'd be like, "Hey, you want a shoe shine? I do a great job. You know, thanks. I'm in a hurry." Second guy, "Hey, those shoes are looking pretty bad. Do you want a shoe shine?" Do you no? Third guy, same basic line. Came to the
Mm,
next guy. The guy counted 97, 98, 90, 100. "Hey, sir, excuse me. Can I do something?" He goes, "Today's my birthday, and I have a thing that the 100th persons that comes back my booth, I was going to give a free shoe shine to. Do you mind? You're the 100th person to come by today." And he
mm,
thought, you know what? It's your birthday. It's free. Yeah, I'll sit down. And he said, beautiful shoe shine. So on his way, he goes, by the way, how much do you usually charge? He goes, it's just $2, but for you today, it's free. He goes, you know what?
mm.
Here's 5. It's your birthday. And the man smiled and goes, well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate you. And he says, as I walked away, I heard this 97, 98, 99. And it was all about the strategy.
Right.
And so when we admit there's a solution,
Hmm.
we can now begin to try different strategies. And if one
Yes.
strategy doesn't work, we simply try a different strategy. It's not about us. It's not about our ability or inability. It's a
Mm,
strategy problem. And that when that strategy doesn't work or we do make a mistake, we remember the baby, we get stronger, we get smarter. And that's what develops your
exactly.
confidence. We feel better once we get those little victories.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't start out that way, and I think we tend to see people that have been through a lot of struggles and come out of them, and we see them as very confident people, and we say, and look at them and say, "Well, I am not that person," and then we just kind of say, "Well, that's just not me, and I'm just not going to be able to do it." Where what you're telling us is you have to become that person, and it's just a matter of falling down a lot and getting back up to make yourself
Or
get
I
there.
think also realizing that you are that person.
Yes,
And I
so true.
think that I I don't have special needs kids. And when I
Mm,
look at a parent of a special needs child, I think I could never do that. What
mm,
amazing, powerful individuals these men and women are. The their skill sets, their love, their patience, all these things they have. I have a pretty good kid, and I'm still screwing up with him. I could never do what they do. And so you're 100% right, but we all do it
Mhm.
regardless of where we are. We're looking at someone else and saying, wow, they're all together.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we need to have the courage to look at ourselves and you say, you know what, I might not be perfect, but I'm good enough to do the job God's given me to do.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a quote that often goes around in the special needs community that, God only gives special needs kids to very special parents. And lately a new one has come out and said, you know what? Um, God gives special needs kids to normal parents. They just keep on trying and loving. And so that's exactly what you're saying, is that it's just the process of keeping going and learning through all the setbacks that we tend to have in various realms in our life. We all have them. It's just, do we push on and try to conquer them?
And there's probably some parents out there right now who know exactly what to do, who are afraid to try it because it goes against what the experts say. And I
Yes.
would like to say to them, look, if it's in your heart, try it. It will
Mm-hmm.
probably, it might just work and be revolutionary to your family and to someone else's family.
Yes,
You might not have gone to
exactly.
school to get some fancy degree, but if God's laid something on your heart, there's a way to communicate. There's something out there. Your child's unique and you have the answer that's best for your child. God's given it to you.
Yeah.
Open your
Hmm.
mind and heart and believe that you have that in you. And you don't need some outside expert to tell you about it.
Yeah. So true. I found that so many times in homeschooling my boys over the years, that the answer that I needed for what to teach them always came. And it was always the perfect answer. Oftentimes I thought it was really crazy. and and if I didn't have the confidence, I wouldn't have done it. But I just went with it because it really was my only option. And so we ended up doing a very dramatic diet change for my oldest that changed his gut completely. And we really thought he was going to be in a group home by this time in his life, because he had extreme anger issues. And where he is now is he's got 1 year of college left. And I'm just amazed when I look at his life. And it was somebody sitting down with me and saying, you need to change your diet and you need to work on some stuff with your son as well as yourself. And I just knew yep, that was it. And things just started clicking. But do we have the ability to say, I'm not gonna, yeah,
And I
keep
think
going that way?
you have to take baby steps.
Yes.
I mean, try something small. When you get that little victory, go, hey, I did this and I didn't need an expert to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do next? What are the baby steps you take? Because we don't get out and we don't lift 1,000,000 pounds. We don't play professional sports. We don't do 100 push-ups.
Right.
Progress through exercise because we're breaking down muscles and we're learning. Like
Mm-hmm.
building confidence, it's a process of small victories and getting a little stronger. Give us the courage to make that bigger step.
Yeah.
You don't go from, little league to the major leagues in a
Mm.
day. You get
Yeah.
used to seeing the ball coming faster. You get used to that, whatever sport you play.
Mm-hmm.
And as you grow in confidence, then you become that.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to have the courage to begin with the baby steps.
Mm. So true. Yeah. So we had a couple things that we were going to dive into as far as some major setbacks that I see over and over again in our community. And so I wanted you to talk specifically to those setbacks and to help our parents be able to have some things that they can use and say, okay, this is the issue definitely I'm struggling with, and here's some things that I can do to go about getting past this and gaining confidence in it. So the first one that we talked about was what other people think. And unfortunately, for our parents, it seems like that people out in the community are more than happy to give their opinion of how your parenting skills are going, more so than if you're just a parent of a typical child, because oftentimes our kids will have meltdowns in public, or they are not seen as the achiever in the school. They're usually the underachiever in everything. And they have behavior issues. I know my child was asked to leave church many times. And, you know, what do you do with that? And what is some advice you have for our parents on how to build their confidence in the midst of these times when other people are looking at them and saying, you just aren't doing it right?
Yeah. And I think that would be so easy to, the easy answer is just don't listen. I mean, obviously that's the easy answer, but,
Mm.
and I, how do I say this politely? Um, you know, well, growing up in youth ministry, in the Christian bubble, we all
Right.
want to fix everybody else.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's easy for us to look and say, well, before we know all the information,
Mm-hmm.
that child needs some discipline. It must be a parent problem.
Right. We hear that a lot.
Right. And so you're not disciplining your child correctly
Mm-hmm.
because that's an easy go to excuse.
Yeah.
But I think also it's understanding that the people doing this are also broken people.
Yes. Oh,
And
that's so true.
it makes me feel better when someone else's kid is worse than mine. So
Right.
I must have it together and they must not. So I should give some advice because it makes me feel better.
Mm.
And so I think the first thing is to understand is that sometimes when people give you advice, as much as they want to think they're doing it out of caring for you, a lot of times they're doing it to make themselves feel better that they're not screwed up in their own mind.
Yes.
And if you can kind of remember that,
Mm-hmm.
it might help a little bit. Because we had a little bit of that problem with our son. I mean, he's not a special needs kid. But every once in a while he was a little rambunctious.
Right.
But but we've heard it from a lot of parents. Oh, you should do more to make sure he behaves.
Mm.
Oh, he's a really good kid. He just has a lot of energy.
Right.
Um, but pile that on, magnify that a million times with the special needs child who has physiological different things going on in their brain and their system
Right.
that they have absolutely no control over.
Mm-hmm.
And neither do the
Exactly.
parents.
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand that as a human being, then you want to show grace and mercy. And a lot of times, parents, we quickly don't have grace or mercy for others.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say just ignore them, but I think the deeper thing is understand that they're coming from a point of maybe they lack confidence themselves, and this just makes them feel better to see somebody worse off than they are in their own mind.
It's a very, yeah, it helps when you look at it in that perspective. Because I know I'm getting ready to give a talk on biblical encouragement for special needs parents, at a conference I'm speaking at. And, that's one of the points that I'm going to make is that we all have special needs. Some of us just hide them better or else they're socially acceptable. Um, but yes, it is a point where we all come from. We all have something, and unfortunately, it's hard when other people call you out
Yeah.
on things that they see that.
And I think also remember, look at the Pharisees of Jesus's day.
Hmm.
They were calling everybody out.
Yeah.
And even the disciples, that when the little kids were running around and coming to Jesus, they were like, hey, get those kids out of here. They're
Hmm.
causing too much disturbance.
Yeah.
And Jesus' response was, hey, wait, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Hey, Jesus, you're hanging out with the wrong group.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes those who call people out, and I don't want to say modern day Pharisees because it's a little bit strong, but it's similar because we're trying to be perfect, meaning not perfect in heart, but perfect in appearance.
Right.
And so when you have a child who isn't perfect in appearance, we must think there's something wrong with the parent, or we must think there's always something wrong because they don't fit our mold or our bubble of how
Mm,
things should be.
yeah.
This isn't a special needs story, but I remember I was working at a fitness center and I had one young lady who was very passionate about she a newer Christian, and she really loved the idea of evangelizing people, and she wanted to bring it. Well, she
Hmm.
she met at the gym I worked at. She met a couple girls who were strippers at the local club.
Hmm.
She took a liking to them, and she wanted to share Jesus with them
Hmm.
and help them. And she invited one of them to church one day. Well, this young lady showed up, in her opinion, dressed up. In the
Right.
opinion of Texas Southern Baptists, well, not so much. Uh, but she didn't have any other choice. I mean, that was her.
Right.
She
Mm-hmm.
thought I'm dressing nice.
Mm-hmm.
And what was really sad was some of the folks in the church approached her and said, "This is not the way good girls dress."
Oh.
Didn't ask, "Are you a Christian?" Didn't ask anything about it. Never found out that it was their first time in church. That
Mm.
none of that. Just this is not the way you should dress. And then we never saw her again.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately, we hear similar stories from our parents, bringing their kids to a new church and being asked to take their child out of the sanctuary and or out of the program and really never coming back.
right,
We
because
forget
instead of
that,
asking,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
so connecting with what other people's opinions, if they don't take the time to get to know the story, there's really a good chance they're more concerned about their own image, their own appearance, or the appearance of their program than they are about that certain child or family
Yeah.
deep down. And it
Mm-hmm.
may seem a little bit harsh, but understanding that, be encouraged that Jesus faced those same problems when he was dealing with those who were special needs of his time, so to speak, the crippled, the lame, the mute,
Yeah.
whatever it was, all the
Mhm.
people with their problems, that's who Jesus hung out with. And it was the Pharisees of his day and the good religious people who kept saying, don't, hey guys, you got to act better around the master. Hey guys, you got to fix your problems. Fix your
Mm-hmm.
behavior. And the last guy to say that was Jesus. He said, no, it's just as it is. We'll figure this out as we go.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
if someone doesn't take the time to say, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything we can do? Before it's just get them out. Maybe
Mm.
for those who are listening who might not have special needs kids, but might be curious, maybe they're in your church. Maybe the question shouldn't be get out, but what can we do right now for you?
Yeah.
Maybe we should stop our perfectly timed service and what can we do for you?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do for you at this as a church body? How can we come around you right this very second to support you? What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Which is tough to do because it interrupts we have to have everything done because of our video and because of our stuff by a
Right.
55-minute time frame. And that's a different story, but trusting that those around you may not be perfect, and that's why they're saying what they do.
Yeah. That's
And if we can
very,
hang on to that idea,
yeah. Definitely, that's really good advice, and just going in and dealing with other people's attitudes and opinions that we often get unsolicited, and just to be able to build your confidence if you put in the front of your mind, not because the tendency is to cycle those thoughts now about I'm a bad parent, my child is bad, and instead just let go of those. What is going good, and what could be going on with this other person to make them react this way? I know the truth. I know the truth about what's going on with my child. I know the truth about what's going on in this situation, why they acted the way they did, why I responded the way I did, and then to just move on. And like you said, even though it looked like you were falling down, maybe you weren't even falling down. But just getting past that criticism is a getting up again, because that can make us stay and just sit down and say, I just don't want to deal with these people anymore. And we see a lot of angry parents that are just angry at the world because of everybody having the judgment on them about how they are doing what they're doing.
Yeah. And I think that's, we talked about the expert thing too.
Mm,
Experts are, don't listen to all the experts and remember that everyone around you thinks they're an expert.
yeah, exactly.
And
Mm.
we all have opinions and we like to tell people.
Yeah, I think our pastor said this week that he said that I think over half the millennials think they should have their own YouTube channel and their own show because they have something important to say to the world. So, yes, we're all experts. We all have so much to share. So,
And
definitely.
again, I think it comes back to we sometimes feel broken, so telling somebody else what they're doing wrong makes us feel better.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
easy for me to look at someone else and say, "Hey, I can fix that problem for you," because it makes me feel like I have one less problem if you have something I can fix.
Right. And it doesn't show what's inside me, it shows what's inside you
Right.
that needs to be worked on.
Right. I mean, has less to do with me actually caring
Mm-hmm.
and more to be me actually making myself feel better.
Yeah. So
The
true.
real, as I mentioned, the real caring people probably might come alongside and say, "What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need someone to talk to? Do you need someone to listen to? Can I sit
Exactly.
here with you for a little bit?" Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was working as a security officer in a mall, and a mom with a special needs child came up to me and she goes, "I have a problem, and I want you to listen." And I said, "Okay, what do you got?" So her child was laying in the middle of the play area, and
Oh,
she wasn't going to leave. And she said,
yes.
"No, I know if I go up there and say something, she will begin to throw a fit and make it violent."
Mm,
She goes, "I'm not sure what I should do. I need to tell you that she's going to be laying there for a while. I don't know what to do.
mm,
But I don't want her to become violent or to throw it and start throwing a tantrum and screaming and yelling and hitting things.
right.
I don't want to hurt herself or somebody else." And I said, "Well, what could I do?" She goes, "I have absolutely no idea. She just laying on the floor." I said,
Mm,
"Mind if I try something?" She
mm.
goes, "Yeah, because I know if I do it, she'll get mad." So I just went up there and I walked up and I laid right next to her and stared at the ceiling. And we were just laying on the floor in the middle of the mall together. And all these people were looking at me like I was insane. Because there's a security guy laying in the middle of the floor with this girl. So I looked over and I said, "How you doing? My name's Steve." She told me her name. And I said, "What are you doing?" We talked. And I said,
Mm,
"Hey, you want to see my cool security car? It's got these cool lights and sirens on it." She goes, "That would be neat." I said, "It's outside."
mm,
I said, "Have you eaten lunch yet?" "No." I said, "I think your mom wants to take you out to lunch." I said, "Do you want to eat lunch after you see my car? Or do you want to go to lunch and come back and see it?" She goes, "No, I'll eat lunch after I see your car."
mm,
So, well, to see it, we have to get up and go outside. Is that okay with you? And she goes, "Yeah,
mm.
I'll get up." And she got up first. And we walked outside and we saw the car and she went to lunch happy as can be.
Oh, that's a neat story. I
And
love it.
it's, but I think it comes from a mom who knew what to do
Yes.
and she spoke to somebody to say, "Hey, here's the situation and here's what I know to do. I
Mm-hmm.
know it's going to work and I know it's not going to work."
Right. She had been through the scenario enough. And I think that takes us back to what you were talking to about before is that we will have a lot of failures before we get to the point of, I know what's in my wheelhouse. Everything's not going to work at this point. I need to go beyond what I've tried in the past.
Yeah. And then trusting yourself when you get the advice from those who have absolutely no idea.
Right.
We just need better discipline. Yeah. We can smile and say, "Thanks. I appreciate I appreciate you caring. Thank you very much. I'll remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that into consideration."
Yeah.
We can respond with kindness, but
Mm-hmm.
have the confidence to trust yourself that all those with other people's opinions are simply that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and remember, of the writing of many books, there is no end. Of the giving of much advice, there is also no end. It's thousands of years old, but it holds so much true today.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think we
So
can encourage parents to just to believe in yourself,
true. Mm.
because obviously God does, because He's allowed this situation to be in your life, so He trusts you to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Doesn't trust that you're going to be perfect at it,
No,
though.
and
So,
you won't grow if you're perfect, because what's the point?
exactly.
You'll never be you don't want to be perfect,
Yeah.
because you can't grow in perfection.
Yeah. It takes all that stretching, and
It takes all that stretching. So that's what I'm thinking of other people's opinions. They are what they are, but you are the expert, and trust yourself with that. And it's
yes.
okay to make a mistake here and there. That's We talked about taking responsibility, admitting that there's a solution.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of these problems? And then start writing down what possible solutions could exist, and those that work, keep them, and those that don't, throw them out.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. You're not married to them if you try to. They let them go.
And the next part of getting real is E, and it's expect failure.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I've always looked at my life like an experiment. I'm a scientist by by trade, and I think that has always been a beneficial perspective for me to take when I approach something new. I'm like, well, it's just I'm trying. I don't expect that I'm going to succeed or fail, but it's an experiment, and we'll see how it goes.
well, and that's too, because you say there's no failure. This is all just testing.
Mm-hmm.
We're testing a hypothesis.
Right.
I think this might work,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll do it. And if it doesn't, as Thomas Edison, I've learned a way it doesn't work. Okay,
Right. Exactly.
this solution was not the answer. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't fail. I learned that this was not the right choice.
Right. And we pass that on to our kids too. I've learned that my children are much more accepting of failure, of me and of themselves, because that's how we've approached things, and say, well, you know what, we tried it, it didn't work. It wasn't something we devoted our whole lives to. We just tried it. So yeah, definitely a good way to handle that. So I want to dive into our next question, because we got 20 minutes left. We've got this one and another one still. But a lot of our parents come to us and their life is in constant flux. Whether they don't know if their child's going to have an episode. A lot of them deal with medical conditions as well as learning issues. And so going to the doctor, the hospital, those types of things are not planned. We can set lots of goals, have lots of schedules that never get done. And the goals that we do set, we're taking a good guess, but not sure when our child is going to achieve those goals. It's not like we sit down with a curriculum book and say, okay, we're going to start in chapter 1, and by the end of the year, we'll be done here. We may be done in 3 years. And I remember when I shared that with an audience, and they said, you mean it? Really? We may have to take 3 years? And I said, yes. But it's when you hear that, it's like defeating that your schedule can be so off from where you expect it to be. And there are all these other things that are going to come in that are going to disrupt my well-laid plans for how I think life should go.
And I think, to me, that gets into like a mindset problem, and we learned a lot of that from our success books and our business books about time management and the perfect system.
Yes.
And we have to remember that's new as far as history is concerned.
Hmm.
We didn't learn in time frames until recent years. Learning was experiential.
Yes.
And I use martial arts as an example. Is a black belt wasn't, okay, in 1 week I'll do this test. Is you begin to learn, and as you hit progression milestones, that was what it was.
Yeah.
And if you did that in a year or 6 years, it didn't make any difference. Time was not the important thing. It was, what is your goal? Not how
Mm,
fast you get to your goal, but what is your goal, and what's the process to get there? How long it takes
yes.
or how short it takes is irrelevant.
Mm,
We have to
mm-hmm.
understand that the whole idea of time management, we can't manage time. We have 24 hours every day.
Exactly.
We can do, we can do action or activity management, but we don't manage time.
Right.
We have 24 hours, the end. That's what you
Mhm.
get.
Right.
How you use that 24 hours is up to you, but you don't have to manage your activities so much, and and we're going right back to the first question, the experts.
Yeah.
Okay, our society says I need to have a plan, and we need to follow this exact ways. If I don't, then something's wrong, or I've screwed up, or I made a mistake. Why do we
Hmm.
need all those plans? how about goals? My goals for my child to learn A, B, or C.
Mm-hmm.
How that happens should not be so important. When that happens is also not important because everyone is different.
Mm-hmm.
Parents with young athletes, I encourage them, don't try to peak your kid in third grade.
Oh, yes.
You
Yeah.
know, if he's meant to be a professional athlete, it'll happen at the time frame it's meant to happen at.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids peak at different levels for different things. But if we try to put them in a box, we're hurting and
Right.
hindering them.
Mm-hmm.
A child with special needs is simply a child that has its own, his or her own time frame.
Mm.
We have
That's
to smile.
beautifully put.
We have
Mm-hmm.
to smile and say, I'm joining you.
Right.
And here's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
When we get to that goal, we'll set a new one.
Yes.
But
And that's
how?
why we tell parents oftentimes to write three main goals a year for their child and to focus on those above anything else, because it often takes a lot of different means to get to those goals. And then to just, if you have to let everything else fly out the window, those are the three things that you focus on when you have time. Those are the priorities.
And you can say that with your own plans. If you plan to do something that didn't work, then
Mm-hmm.
if it didn't work, what positive thing happened in that moment? Some of my
Yeah.
best, some of my best youth ministry trips were trips that, in all reality, were disasters. The van breaks down, the kids get sick, all these
Mm,
things happen, and the kids were like, greatest ski trip ever, greatest camping trip ever, because it was those moments
mm,
we think have failed or we messed up on that actually
right.
were the greatest teachable moments, the most
Yes.
the,
So
the
true.
strongest things happen in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But if we say, you know what, we're going to try to get to the park today. Well,
Mm,
if it doesn't happen, it was not a failure.
yeah.
It just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. We'll go to the park next time. So,
Right.
what wonderful things did happen today? Oh, we had
Mm,
to go to the doctor. What did we learn? Well, this happened. Okay, what's the we call it?
yeah.
I call it learning to practice positive proact. Being proactively positive.
Mm-hmm.
Practice proactive positivity, and that is
It's
to
good.
focus on. It's easy for us to think about bad things,
Mm,
and at night we probably share the bad things with other people. Oh, today was this. I went to work and I had this really bad thing, and we quickly tell everybody how bad life is.
mm.
But what we're really doing is we're programming our subconscious mind to look for more negativity
Yes.
because we
Yeah,
keep sharing
definitely.
it over and over. What we're
Mm-hmm.
reinforcing the idea is we want to find negativity.
Huh.
If we practice proactive positivity, what we're doing is we're saying, wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say, today's going to be a good day because.
Yeah.
And list all the things it could be. So, but if you say to somebody, I had a bad day because, then you should also follow it up and double down on two good things. Well, what
Mm,
did you do today? Share the good things that happened with somebody else. It might be
yeah.
small, but share two or three of those good things
Mm-hmm.
instead of, oh, today was a disaster because we were playing with the park and then this happened and then we had a meltdown and then we did this and all these. How about what happened good in there?
Yes.
What were the
Because then
two
you're
positives?
portraying that not only to yourself, but also the child often hears these things, and that builds up their self-confidence as well.
Yeah. And it also lets them know that they're not bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, it's not their fault that oh, I ruined the day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's my fault because this happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I must be bad because mom or dad are angry or upset because we didn't finish this and it was my fault.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
at a deeper level, that could be happening.
Right.
But what about, okay, it didn't happen. So what?
Mm-hmm.
We're only till recently are we buried in our calendars. What if
Yeah.
we just set those three goals, like you said, or a daily goal? And today I hope this gets done and we'll see what
Mm-hmm.
happens. And if we do, yay us.
Yeah. Otherwise, it goes on to the next day.
And there's contingency plans.
Right.
But also, when in those things happen, can we recognize something good that happened? Was there a positive moment? And then
Right.
focus our energy, focus our talk, our self talk, our talk to others on that
Yes.
good thing that happened. to remind ourselves that today wasn't a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful things happen.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, the more you do that, the more you're going to start seeing those good things
Yeah,
above the negative things.
because you're
And then
programming your mind to look for them.
mm-hmm.
You wake
Exactly.
up in the morning and saying, "I'm grateful. Today's going to be a great day because."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we talk about. Practicing proactive positivity. Today's
Yeah.
going to be a great day because my
Exactly.
job is great because I love homeschooling because
Mm-hmm.
I am happy I'm homeschooling my child because here's all the wonderful things.
Right. We often tell parents to write a mission statement about why they're doing what they're doing. So when they do have hard days, they can go back to that and say, this is why I'm doing this, not because of what I'm focused on right now, but this was why we started this.
Finish the day with things you're grateful for that day. I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful that I homeschool for these reasons. And if we focus on why we're grateful for those reasons we homeschool, obviously the trials and the tough times will come, but
Yeah.
they'll pale in comparison to the joy that comes and the
So true.
gratefulness that comes. Today is going to be a good day because
Yes. Yeah.
I'm grateful I homeschool because I have
Mm-hmm.
more freedom and flexibility. I get to control the schedule. I have a better
Right.
bonding time. What are all the great reasons we homeschool for? And all
Yeah.
of a sudden we'll find out, well, I'm not as smart as maybe a public teacher. Really? So what?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm so grateful for these other things, yeah, we'll figure out the rest.
Right. And you're less likely to put your kids back in public school if you remind yourselves of all the good things that are happening, because oftentimes the reason we've pulled them out, especially in the special needs community, is the school was such a bad situation that homeschooling was a better option. But we can get so reversed in that mindset when we start taking the negative of what's going on in our days and forgetting that we need a positive load
Yeah.
and focus on what is going well.
It's the grass is always greener. And sometimes we jump the fence
Exactly.
and we look back and go, hey, wait a minute. Now the grass is greener over there.
Right.
I'm going to jump back on the other side. Hey, wait a minute. I'm going to go over there.
Yep. So true. So the last question that I just wanted to touch on quick is general motivation.
Mm.
When marriages are strained, finances just are stretched to their limit, your nerves are at their end because you're sleep deprived. These are constants almost in our community, and we have a lot of single parents that are homeschooling and trying to run businesses. And it's a lot of work. And what do you have to say just to our parents who just kind of feel like, I'm tired. I don't know if I can even motivate myself or get motivated to build up any confidence.
Mm. I think, I recently went through a kind of a tough time. I mentioned I came back from Japan in
Mm,
2015. When you're aged in your 50s, no one will hire you. I
yeah.
was putting junk in the back of a truck. I was working for $10 an hour, multiple jobs trying to make it. A year ago, I finally got a job within my career field as a training person.
Mm,
Finally had a good job, and I thought I was there. And just going forward, and just a few weeks ago, I mean, literally the end of well, about 6 weeks ago now, just the end of March, early April, last of March, getting ready to go to a regular meeting. My operations manager pulled me and he goes, "Hey, come before your training meeting. Why don't you pop into the conference room real quick? I'm gonna go over some payroll stuff with you." And the girl from HR was there. I call her the Grim Reaper because I know exactly what's going to happen.
mm,
Steve, thanks for all your help this last year. We're making some changes in the corporation. We've eliminated your position. Good luck to you.
oh,
And it was that moment of, oh no. So I shared this, and some people are like, oh, what a great opportunity. Isn't that wonderful? Oh,
mm,
so much in front of you. The glass is half full kind of people. The,
right.
the positive people that make you go insane.
I know sometimes. No, don't tell me that.
Great opportunity. Look, I'm not going back to working on a garbage truck for $10 an hour. It's but sometimes being over positive, and then we want to say is get realistic. We got to get real.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting: the glass is half empty, the glass is half full. Both are real statements,
Yes. So
and
true.
our mindset to how we look at things is key. And that's what we'll talk about getting real. We already talked about the R: take responsibility, admit there's a solution. When you
Mm-hmm.
do that, you can unleash your creativity. You get freedom. Hopeless turns into hopeful. Hey, wait, there's an answer, and I have the answer. Wait, I can do this. E was expect failure. We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Expecting the failures. And we're using those failures like the baby does to get stronger, to get better, to get smarter.
Mm-hmm.
So REA is about attitude. And that's
Mm.
where we practice that positive, proactive positivity. It's our attitude toward our situation in life. How we look at everything is about attitude. Do we have a positive outlook? Doesn't mean we're not realistic. And look, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for me in my situation, okay, the reality is I've got to get a job.
Right.
But what's the attitude I should have? I'm grateful for the skill sets I have. I'm grateful for the opportunity. As I have that positive attitude, now I'm open to more opportunity because I'm growing forward, not backwards. I'm not getting into myself and feeling bad. If you're
Right.
parenting a special needs kids or even a regular child and things don't look good, how's your attitude? Where's your gratefulness? Are you
Right.
focusing on those wonderful things?
Mm.
Because with the right attitude, life changes for you.
So true.
And
Yes.
looking at the positive things around you, there's an old story. I don't know if you've heard the story of Acres of Diamonds, and I'll give you this super brief.
Mm. Mm-mm.
It's a great story, and a guy named Earl Knight, a pastor, told it many, many years ago to raise money for a school he built. But
Mm.
basically, there's a guy in South Africa, and he heard the story of diamonds, and he wanted to get out there and make his own way and make millions and millions of dollars off diamonds. And
Mm.
he went out and he said, you know what? I'm going to sell all my land and search the world for diamonds. And off he went and ended up poor and desolate and ended up killing himself in the ocean somewhere. But at the
Mm.
same time, the guy who bought his land one day was out walking around and found this cool looking rock, didn't know what it was, and put it in the mantle. And a priest came by one day and he says, hey, what's that? Where'd you get it? He goes, I don't know. I just found it up there. And he goes, you know what that is? He goes, nope, never seen it before. He goes, it's a diamond. Where'd it come from? Oh, I got tons of these things out in my backyard. And the man who sold the farm was literally sitting on acres of diamonds, but because he didn't know what to look for, have
Mm.
the attitude of learning, of
Right.
because his attitude wasn't set. He looked everywhere else except where he was sitting. And
Mm.
that is a true story because that land ended up being one of the richest diamond mines in South Africa.
Wow.
But the point was is that he didn't take the time, which leads us. So your attitude is everything, which leads to L, and that's lifestyle.
Mm.
What kind of lifestyle do you have? Do you have a lifestyle of learning, a lifestyle of growing, a lifestyle of gratitude? The
Yes.
greatest pro athletes, they're they have a lifestyle. I'm a soccer guy. I call football. My son's a soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
Read recently, I read a story of he's a goalkeeper, so I read stories. But in one of the books I read, they talked about a young Cristiano Ronaldo who was one of the world's greatest soccer players,
Mm.
and everybody thinks he's just this special guy. But
Mm.
in the book, it just a couple sentences long, he mentioned as people were leaving practice that night and it was raining out or that afternoon, knowing they'd come back for a second one, coach said, "Hey, you're done and you're out." As he drove by the field, he looked, and in the rain was young
Mm.
Ronaldo practicing, getting
Yeah.
it just right, because he had a lifestyle of getting it just right.
Mm.
And when we have a lifestyle that says we're going to make it, is our
Right.
lifestyle agreeing with what we want to do? Our mission statements. We have a mission statement. Is our lifestyle match it?
Mm.
Do we have a lifestyle to learn
Right.
from others? Do we have a lifestyle of showing gratitude? Is our lifestyle set
Mm-hmm.
what we want it to be?
Because what you repeat is what you automatically will do
Right.
when life gets in those moments where you are forced to react. It's what you've been practicing over and over again,
Right.
and it doesn't seem like out of your comfort zone. It's just what you do, and that really is lifestyle.
A healthy lifestyle.
Hmm.
It doesn't happen automatically.
Yes, no, it is a lot of dedication and hard work.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But if you have the right attitude, it's worth it because that becomes then normal. Like you said, it becomes the normal.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can have confidence in saying, you know what, I'm happy with what I have because we're practicing that proactive positivity. So we go back
Right.
all the way, you know what, to every solution, there is every problem, we have a solution.
Mm-hmm. And we find contentment in those things that we are appreciating.
Yeah.
And because those are the things at the forefront of our mind instead of what isn't going well.
Because we're expecting failure. Expect failure.
Right.
We know it's going to come, so let's embrace it and let's say, hey, it's okay. It's a test. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to smile and say, I expected this to happen anyway. So now why, the question is not why did this happen, but what can I learn?
Right.
Oh, why
Yeah.
is this happening to me? No, what can I learn from this? How do I,
Mhm.
like the little baby, get stronger, get smarter, get better?
Right.
Have the right attitude in living a lifestyle. And so we basically get real with life.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Steve. I'm going to put up your website right now. It's called boostconfidencenow.com. And so you have podcasts. What else do you have on your website that people
Oh, it's not much. It's brand
not
new.
much?
There's not much there. My contact information. We do have our Pura Global, our Facebook page, but Boost Confidence Now is just a simple thing. People can get in contact with me if they have groups of people they
Great.
need. If they
Yeah,
have something they need a speaker for, I'd love to talk to them about that.
great.
I
Yes.
hope
Well,
to
we
get
have.
some value here today and help some parents
Mm,
walk with a little more confidence.
I definitely think you're speaking what we need to hear over and over again. The world doesn't tell us these things. They either tell us, "Oh, you're going to get it right the first time." You know, on social media, we see all these people doing amazing things. Of course, we don't see all the failures that happen to get them to that point, and even just TV shows that highlight that. And it's important to realize that we go through failures. And I was talking to a friend last night, and I said, I am just amazed that people want to hear me speak. And she's like, Peggy, but you're so real. You share what happened before it got good. And that's what people want to hear. They want to understand that I pushed through those failures, and where my family is at now and where my kids are at now is because we didn't give up on them. And so parents, don't give up on yourselves. Don't give up on your kids. Steve has been so good about breaking this down into really bite-sized pieces on how to do that. And so I just want to thank you so much, Steve, for
Yeah,
doing that for
you
us tonight.
you bring up you yourself said I don't think people want to hear me speak.
Mm,
I've said that to myself a million times, and parents say it to themselves, I don't have what it takes. We all say it to ourselves,
yeah,
but to somebody else, we have something. And so that
yeah.
for your children, you have something.
Mm,
For parents,
mhm,
you have something for somebody.
exactly.
And that's who God made you to be.
Yeah,
You
so
are more than 1 in a million. You're 1 in 400 trillion. So,
true. Exactly.
Lord, thank you. It's been such an honor to be here.
Oh, you're so
It's been
welcome.
such
We've
a blessing. And
definitely appreciated this. Yeah. So,
I love what you're doing. And please keep up the good work. I know that I'll be sending more folks this way because you have so many important things to offer to parents.
thank you.
And we appreciate what you're doing so much.
Yeah, it's definitely a calling, and there's a lot of struggle in getting a new nonprofit going. So definitely, I've hit lots of setbacks in the last 2 years. So, which we are celebrating our 2-year anniversary in July.
Yay.
So, everyone, I'm going to put up my crawler for spedhomeschool.com, and just to let all of you know that we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and this broadcast is an outreach of SPED Homeschool. And you can find a whole lot more resources other than our live videos on our website. And just want to thank you for joining us and supporting our ongoing effort to reach out and train parents to successfully homeschool their children who struggle with special needs. And the whole range. People often say, what do you cover? I'm like, well, anything from just a difficulty in learning to a child who's profoundly has profound issues. We take all of your questions and want to help you. If you feel called to homeschool, we feel called to help you and want to do that. So next week, we are going to be talking with Janie Halloran. She's a licensed mental health counselor and the founder of Encourage Play. And so we're going to continue with our summer learning series. And she's going to talk about social and relational skill building through play dates, which will be very fun. So I just want to thank you all for being part of our conversation and for watching live and recorded. And if you want to keep this conversation going, you can join us on our Facebook group, which is a support group just for special education homeschooling parents. We have over 1,600 people in that group. So there's always some sort of discussion going, and you can ask your questions, get them answered there, and we're excited to just be able to do that during the week and then to have this show every week. So thanks again, Steve.
My pleasure.
Greatly appreciate you being here. And thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you again next week here on SPED Homeschool Conversations. Bye, everyone.